Over the last few weeks, federal immigration agents have descended on Maine in an effort the Department of Homeland Security has called Operation Catch of the Day.
Maine is known for fishing. We are a coastal community in Portland. So it's basically likening these human beings to whatever fish is available.
For Mainers, especially those in Portland and South Portland, the surge of ICE agents in their neighborhoods has brought political and social upheaval.
Help!
And as bystanders film and distribute video evidence of the sweeping detainments, the screams of one woman caught in this operation echo through the neighborhood and beyond. After thousands gathered across Maine to protest against ICE in their communities,
what do the people of Maine demand?
Senator Susan Collins announced late January that DHS Secretary Kristi Noem informed her that ICE has ended its, quote, enhanced activities in the state.
I know Secretary Kristi Noem, and I have her cell phone and called her up to talk to her about what was occurring in Maine and why it was so troubling.
And although the surge of ICE agents has slowed, arrests are still ongoing. And some Mainers, like Senate candidate Graham Plattner, remain skeptical that any real relief is coming.
I don't really care about people's words. And a pinky promise from Kristi Noem is not enough for me to think that we are maybe going to see ICE. I just have no patience for coming out and claiming some kind of victory that she has stood up for the people of Maine when, one, nothing has changed yet. We're getting promises from an administration that we all know does not keep its word and breaks the law consistently.
Reporter Sabrina Shankman, lifelong Mainer, brings us the story.
We started seeing both the increased presence of ICE and also this almost immediate increase in people out on the street.
I'm Jasmine Aguilera, and this is The Globe.
My name is Sabrina Shankman, and I am normally the climate change reporter for the Boston Globe. But I've been looking into a story about the surge of ICE in Maine because I happen to be from Maine. I live in Maine. You know, when we came back from Martin Luther King Jr. weekend, we had known that there was a possibility of this surge, but then suddenly everything changed.
Open the window now!
Go, get up! Get out of the car! Get out! Get out! You're taking somebody!
I'm a correctional officer at work! And come to the car! What's wrong?
We're going to come back for your whole family.
And now you're considered a domestic terrorist.
So what we started seeing was neighbors who were showing up to walk kids from bus stops, deliver groceries, and also keep track of ICE on the ground, too. You know, we have a very large immigrant community in South Portland. A lot of people who came to Maine as refugees ended up settling in South Portland. These are kids who go to our schools and play on our soccer teams. And so when we started hearing that there was the potential for a surge, the worry immediately became, well, what about these people? What about these kids? What about their parents? You know, what's this going to mean for them? So there was like this undercurrent of anxiety about how it could come home to roost. And then as we started hearing about the surge happening, people were wondering, you know, has anybody heard from this person? Do they need anything? You know, what's going on? And so I got a phone call from another mom that I know in South Portland saying, something has happened. I just saw this video. I think you need to see it. And she said, it's really upsetting, and I just need to warn you before you watch it. And so I saw the video. That's how I didn't know who she was. I just knew, you know, I mean, the video depicts a woman. I mean, she sounds like she's fighting for her life.
Help her!
Like, she is screaming with such terror in her voice.
Nancy!
It's absolutely heart-wrenching to listen to it. And what you're seeing is several ICE officers with their faces covered and the kind of vest jackets that they wear, kind of forcing her out of a vehicle. It's dark, right? It happened at like 5:40 in the morning that day. And she's just sort of not fighting, but just sort of resisting in the way that you would if people are pulling you from your vehicle and you're terrified.
Like struggling.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Wow. And what were your immediate reactions to seeing that video?
Well, the first thing because I couldn't see her face, really. So the first thing I said was, is this someone I know? Like, is this one of, because earlier in the week we had learned that someone from our community, one of the children in our community, had family members who were detained. So it's very, it very much could have been someone that we know. In this case, it was not. And then my thought was, well, who was this? Like, what on earth, what was happening here?
Yeah. So how did you come to learn more about her?
It's amazing because it has only been like 4 days and yet so much has happened. I started messaging people within my network, people that I knew from my life, people within the immigrant community, people that I've met through my reporting on this, and also within the community of people I consider the helpers, to say, what do we know about who this person is? So this woman, Fatima Lucas Henrique, her name had started to circulate online a little bit because of the visceral nature of that video. It was starting to rocket around the internet, right? Like, it was, social media had really picked up on it. There were some organizations that were raising money, that were trying to help her. But I wanted to hear from the people that knew her. Because, right, how awful to have this terrible experience and then be known just for this horrible moment. And I really wanted to find some way to understand more about who she is, who are the people that love this person, where is she, what's happening to her. So I was reaching out to all my contacts. How can I get closer to understanding who this person is?
What were some of the first things you learned about her?
I mean, gosh, the people just say the nicest things about her, and that is not unexpected, right? But the way that I spoke with two people that know her very well. I spoke with her boyfriend of 2 years, and I spoke with a very close friend of hers who, could not be named for the article because she is also vulnerable to being brought in by ICE. Similar to Fatima, she has been pursuing the legal pathways to citizenship and, showing up at appointments and doing all the things. But as we know, in Maine, a lot of people that have been detained have those qualifications as well. So what the friend and what her boyfriend were telling me was just that this is someone who is incredibly hardworking. She's known for sort of showing up for her friends, showing up for the people in her community.
I would describe Fatima as intelligent, hardworking woman with a lot of determination, who always goes after her goals. And she's really kind to other people. She's someone easy to talk, to engage conversation, a really smiley person who treats everyone with kindness. We are no criminals. We are hardworking people. And now we can't even go outside to put the trash out. We can't even drop off our kids to school. We can't even go to bus stop to take our kids from the bus. We've been living as a criminal when we didn't do anything wrong.
You spoke with her boyfriend. What were some of the things he told you about her?
The thing that was the sweetest, he said, just that like every day with her has taught him something new about how to show up for people, how to be kind, how to be a member of community. And he said she's just like the best person that he's ever met.
And he must be devastated
He's
right now.
devastated. He's so scared for her. Yeah. So it's hard to be the person left behind with very little that you can do. She was terrified that ICE was surging in Maine. She knew that she could be vulnerable, but she also knew she had a job, and it was a job that she had been, working toward and wanting for herself, and that she cared about because as a, certified nursing assistant, she was giving back to other people. So she did what a lot of people do when they don't have any choice. She got up and she went to work.
Yeah. And she was legally allowed to work. Like, she had been, for all intents and purposes, pursuing citizenship in the way that people had been told to pursue it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about the community in Maine, why there is such a large refugee community there, and how it feels for a community to be relocated there knowing that there's this surge happening?
So several years ago, there was a large group of refugees who came to Maine. And they came from all over, right? There were a lot from Africa, like Fatima, who's from Angola, who came, but they also came from a lot of other places too. Many ended up coming into Portland, but because South Portland is where there's a lot of housing, many also ended up moving into housing in South Portland. And I remember being on Facebook, and there was this group that started called Maine Needs. And initially it was just a Facebook group, and it was trying to respond to the needs of this community because a lot of people were showing up and winter in Maine is no joke. They wouldn't necessarily have things. They also wouldn't necessarily have like car seats and diapers and strollers. And meanwhile, you've got a lot of privileged people in southern Maine. Southern Maine is where a lot of Maine's, kind of wealthier, more well-off folks live. All these people who have extra stuff kicking around. And so there would be a call out like, hey, I've got a mother of two, needs a stroller and size 4 diapers, could also use, 3T winter clothes or whatever. And then you'd see all these people be like, I got that, right? That Maine Needs Facebook group grew into a brick and mortar location, which has now grown into a larger brick and mortar location, which is now coordinating with hundreds of organizations, providing tons of resources for people from this refugee community, and is now one of the biggest responders during this ice surge in Maine. That sort of, I think, is representative of how Maine has embraced people from other places who have come. Like we are known, I grew up in Maine, right? We are not known to be the most welcoming group of people. We call people who are not from Maine. Like if you came from Massachusetts and moved to Maine, you would forever be branded as being from away. That's how we refer to it. But despite that, I feel like there has been this real embrace and this real kind of knitting into our community of people who came from very far away. We were all just going to be living together, and that we needed to be helping each other and be forming a community.
It seems like you said, that community has grown and also has been absorbed and embraced. Yeah. It seems like more of the fabric. So tell me a little bit broadly about in that week where Fatima was taken, like the days leading up to it, the days afterwards, what has been the community response to this surge?
Yeah. The community response has been, I think everybody saw almost immediately, this is a moment where we have to step up, even if we're not the person that normally would be doing this kind of work and feel comfortable doing this kind of work. And so, on Tuesday of the first week, right? The first real day of the surge, I had gotten word that there were 2 men who had been taken from this one neighborhood in South Portland, and that there was somebody there who had seen it. And if I went over to where this had happened, she could tell me the story of what she saw and share a video with me. So I drove over there. Happened to be the time when the buses were coming home. There were, 10, 15 people there who were specifically there to be folks who could watch and folks who could walk children home from buses. This is day 1, right? When these kids had gotten on the bus, not knowing that there was an ice surge, and were getting off the bus to relative strangers, in some cases teachers that they knew, but in some cases relative strangers who were like, hey, bud, I'm just going to walk you to your door because mom or dad wasn't safe to leave the house, right? That was instant. Since then, that's been the norm at bus stops all over the place. So has bringing groceries either to public locations for drop spots or to people's apartments or homes. Buddy families is what the term that they used for when you're partnered up with a family, so that mom or dad can be sending you a message probably through like WhatsApp or Signal saying we could really use bread, milk, size 4 diapers, whatever it is, and laundry detergent, and you know what to bring. But by pairing people up, it sort of takes away some of the administrative hurdles and also makes it easier, I think, to ask for help because it's like you've got a relationship with this person.
So it sounds like the community's response has been really just aid for the people that are vulnerable. You haven't seen any confrontations with ICE agents.
Oh, no, there's that too.
Oh, okay. Yeah, tell me about that.
So there's the mutual aid side, which is what I was just describing. And then there's the rapid response side. The rapid response side would be like the ice watchers. Now, Maine is not Minnesota, right? What we're seeing in Maine, I think because were far less urban than Minneapolis, right? Portland is pretty spread out. South Portland even more so. So when arrests happen, they happen very quickly. And so what there's a network of people who are out watching just on foot. And there's also a network of people who are reporting what they're seeing so other people can come out to a site of an arrest. So these are the ICE watchers. One woman I talked to last week had just been out sort of essentially like on patrol, walking around her neighborhood because she had heard that ICE might be around with a whistle and the hotline number. And she happened to see someone get detained in that moment. She's blowing her whistle. She's taking a video. She had this sort of strange encounter with an ICE agent who kept telling her she was pretty.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. She was very just felt so kind of uneasy by how demeaning that was and how intentional that felt. But she was there intentionally to do exactly what she did, which was to record, to call attention, to blow the whistle, and then to send information about whatever she could glean about who this person was and what had happened to him to anyone that needed to know.
Yeah. Wow. So is it right to say that there was a sense of unease and also already before Fatima was even taken, a system set up to respond to it?
Yes. So immediately after she was taken, within an hour, her closest friend had gotten a call to say, Fatima's been taken, there's this video. And so she was made aware. When her boyfriend learned, he was also, desperately trying to get information, find out where she is. Eventually, he got a phone call from Fatima. And by then, she was at the Burlington facility, which is where so many people have been held or are being held. And, she was physically okay, but she was devastated from what he told me. She was terrified. She didn't know what was going to happen. And so he created a GoFundMe to start raising money so that he could pay legal fees. And they haven't gotten word yet still about what, bond will be. Then they heard from Project Relief, which is a Black immigrant-led organization that has really been the heart of a lot of the response. They've been raising a lot of funds. They get that money out to both support families in hiding and also pay legal fees. They just switched gears and they're going to also start helping people with rent because there's a lot of concern that evictions will be coming up for people who have lost their breadwinner who's been detained or who can't leave home to go to work, right? That will be the next wave of this problem. So Project Relief stepped in and covered those legal fees. There is still a fundraiser for Fatima because those legal fees are just the beginning of what the financial burden of this event will be for them. But Project Relief has played a role in trying to help her specifically.
Wow. And since talking to her boyfriend, the friend, the organizers, what has changed? She's in Burlington. You're hearing who she is, why she was taken, supposedly. What else have you learned?
Not much. I mean, I immediately reached out to DHS and said, what can you tell me about this? What can you tell me about this woman? Why was she detained? When was she detained? Where is she? Because at that moment, I hadn't learned that yet. A whole slew of questions. Crickets. No response. I've been sending emails regularly to the agency. Every now and then I get a response that says a new updated number. We've arrested 100 worst of the worst. The more recent one was 200 worst of the worst offenders in Maine. But that's it.
Of which they consider her one of them.
She would be considered one of them. So would several of the other people that we've been reporting on, many of whom don't have any criminal background and have been, pursuing the legal pathway to asylum.
Yeah. Is there anything that you know about the community around her? At this point, we see this all the time. And we're flooded by all of these images. But hers stands out mostly because of the frightened screams. But has that video given her any kind of advantage or additional help?
Not yet.
Yeah.
I mean, she's sitting in Burlington, right?
Yeah.
She's scared. She doesn't know necessarily. And I don't know what's been communicated. Maybe her boyfriend, when he's talked to her, has explained this video's gone all over the place, but she doesn't know. She hasn't experienced it. I'm sure she's not sitting scrolling social media while she's in ICE detention. So no, there's no advantage that I can see that has come for her, though they have been successful in raising some funds. It's not a ton, right?
Yeah,
and last I checked, it has gone up quite a bit, but it was less than $9,000 so far, which again, I imagine is not enough. There is so much need. There are so many stories like Fatima's, right? Fatima's stands out because of the video.
Right.
But there are so many stories of people who, I was reading earlier about a religious leader in the immigrant community in Maine who went searching for one of the members of his parish because he hadn't heard anything from him and just found his car pulled over after driving around looking for it with the keys in it still. This is someone, right? Like people have just been disappeared who have no criminal background whatsoever, right? So there are so many cases like that. There's the 18-year-old college student who was going out to get groceries for his family. There's multiple now corrections officers who have been vetted by the corrections department and are trainees, recruits who have been detained.
I'm a correction officer at work in Cumberland County. What's wrong? I'm just coming from war. What's wrong?
So the challenge is you understand this is anybody, right? This is anybody who is vulnerable. And the definition of vulnerability, as was explained to me by Pius Ali, who's a longtime Portland City councilor, how you define vulnerable is up to you, right? It may be you're here and you're undocumented and, and you've got a criminal background. It may be that you're here and you're pursuing asylum and going through all the legal steps. It may just be that you're a person of color living in Maine or you have an accent, right? All of those things have shown these folks to be vulnerable when it comes to ICE arrests in Maine. And so it's hard to say that any one person stands out necessarily more than the next.
There also seems to be an added layer of this where even if you have the law on your side and there's no reason you should have been detained, it still is going to take months, weeks to get through the court system at the same time that the immigration system is overloaded with these cases right now and also underfunded, understaffed. Have you seen that play out in Maine?
Our colleague Julia wrote this beautiful story about a woman who was detained leaving her 5-year-old behind, right? Hours after Julia's story came out, that mother was released with an ankle monitor, and the ankle monitor has been taken. She doesn't even have that anymore. So what does that tell you about the speed that they can operate under certain circumstances, right? In some cases, things can move pretty quickly, which isn't to say that this woman's struggles and challenges with the legal system are over. They're not. However, she's home with her kid instead of being detained somewhere. I think if you were to ask any Mainer, just about, do you think that people who are here, who have come from another country and committed violent crimes should be allowed to live here without any repercussions in the legal system? They would say absolutely not, right? There should be some mechanism for the justice system to, right, address this problem if that's what's happening. However, A, those are not the people that we're seeing who are being arrested. And B, regardless of who you are and what your background is, there's no need to dehumanize. And that's what we're seeing, both in calling it Operation Catch of the Day and also in the way that people are being treated, as was so clearly illustrated by what happened to Fatima. Because if you pulled this woman over and said, ma'am, we have questions about your immigration status. Can we make an appointment? Can you come talk to us? You've shown up for all your other asylum-seeking appointments. We assume you'll show up for this one. Let's have a conversation about it. Right. That's a very different exchange than multiple people before dawn wrenching you from your vehicle and throwing you into a detention facility.
Sabrina, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Fatima has since been transferred to the Port Isabel Service Detention Center in Texas. In Maine, ICE arrests have slowed, but not ceased. This episode was reported by Sabrina Shankman, hosted, produced, and engineered by Jasmine Aguilera. Thanks for listening.
What is healthy spirituality, and how does it help us thrive? We explore these questions on the new season of Within 4, hosted by me, Dr. Pam King. Within 4 bridges psychology and spiritual wisdom to help you thrive, featuring conversations with experts like self-compassion pioneer Kristen Neff and author-activist Parker Palmer. So go ahead, follow Within 4, hosted by Dr. Pam King, wherever you get your podcasts.
Curious about the future of healthcare? Tomorrow's Cure, the chart-topping and Ambie Award finalist podcast from Mayo Clinic, brings it to you today. I'm Kathy Worzer, and in this new season, I sit down with researchers, doctors, and industry experts who are leading the way in medical innovation. From cutting-edge technology to breakthrough treatments, we'll explore how new solutions are improving and even saving lives. Follow Tomorrow's Cure wherever you listen to podcasts.